So, what if you could take a huge pile of research, articles, PDFs, all that stuff, and turn it into a ready-to-watch video with just a single click? Well, that's the big promise behind a new AI feature in Google's NOTEBOOKLM, and today we're going to see if it actually lives up to the hype.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're staring at this mountain of tabs or a folder full of academic papers, and you just feel the weight of all that information. It's a totally universal problem.
But what if you could just press a button and have all of that material instantly summarized, visualized, and even narrated for you? That's the powerful idea we're going to dig into today.
For pretty much everyone, students, researchers, professionals, that struggle to absorb massive amounts of information is so real. It's just one of the biggest challenges of our digital age.
So Google's answer to this is a brand new feature they're calling Video Overview, and it's designed to be a really powerful visual way to get through text without having to read every single word yourself.
So what is it exactly? Well, think of it like this. It's an AI that actually generates a whole set of narrated slides. It goes into your documents and it pulls out the important stuff, images, charts, key quotes, numbers, and builds a visual story out of your material. So it's way more than just text to speech.
Okay, so how does it work? You might be thinking it's some super complicated, techie process, but honestly, it's surprisingly simple. Let's just break it down. It really is just 3 simple steps. First, you upload your files. Could be PDFs, Google Docs, even web links, you name it. Then you head over to the Studio panel and you just click Video Overview. And that's it. The AI takes it from there, building your video in the background while you go do other things. And this quote straight from Google really gets to the heart of what they're trying to do. Distill complex information. Right, it's all about turning something that could take you hours to read into something you can watch and digest in minutes. So you can feed it something incredibly complex, like a dense scientific publication or a really detailed financial report. The AI is supposedly built to handle that kind of formal, heavy material. But it's not just for that academic stuff. You could also upload a totally creative document, like, say, a unique lesson plan for a class, and it can pull out the main ideas and present them visually. That versatility is actually pretty impressive. Now, this isn't just some black box where you have zero control. You actually get to play the role of director here and tell the AI what kind of video you want it to make. You get this whole little control panel. You can decide, do you want a long, deep dive explainer video or just a quick brief? You can pick the narration from over 80 languages, and this is probably the most powerful part, you can use a steering prompt to give it specific instructions on what topics to focus on or who the video is for. And it's not just about the content. You also get to control the whole visual style. You're definitely not stuck with some generic, boring look. You can actually pick from a whole bunch of visual styles. Want it to look like a whiteboard session? Done. How about a cool retro print look? You got it. There's even papercraft, watercolor, and yes, even an anime style. You can get really creative with the whole look and feel. Okay, so that's the official story from Google. But what's it actually like to use in the real world? Let's get into some feedback from the community that's been putting this thing through its paces. Here's a great example from a Reddit user, DocDoc31. They fed it just one scientific paper and got back a 7-minute video that they said was really useful. They even mentioned the style was quite nice, maybe even better than some presentations they've seen from actual researchers. But, of course, it's not perfect. The very same user pointed out a common glitch. The audio narration can get cut off really abruptly right when the slide changes. It kind of feels like the audio is made slide by slide and the timing just isn't quite seamless yet. So this table kind of sums up what people are saying. On the pro side, it's surprisingly useful, it saves a ton of work, and you can download it as an MP4. But the quirks are pretty significant. Besides the audio glitches, a lot of people are saying, hey, this isn't really a video with motion, it's a narrated slideshow. In fact, one user even suggested it should be called Slide Overviews, which is pretty accurate. And all of this brings us to the much bigger picture. A tool like this has massive potential, for sure, but it also brings up some really important questions about how we use AI for learning. This quote from an educator, Craig Van Slyke, really puts it all in perspective. He says that while these tools can be fantastic aids, they are not a substitute for doing the actual hard work of learning. They're here to help the process, not replace it entirely.
And speaking of limitations, wherever the official tool stops, you can bet the community is already stepping in. Users are finding the gaps in NOTEBOOKLM and they're building their own solutions to fix them.
The biggest problem for a lot of people is the final product. You only get a static MP4 file, and there's no way to edit the slides. So the community is already asking for editable formats like PowerPoint. And you're seeing third-party developers create browser extensions to export the info and improve the citations.
And this brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Is a tool like this going to revolutionize how we learn, or is it just a more sophisticated way to cram for a test? It can absolutely make information more accessible, but whether that leads to true understanding, well, that part is still up to us.